Hayabusa. Oh, I would pay $40 for that. Am I right, guys? Oh, wow, what a dope armor set. You guys remember that from Halo 3? You remember the old armors? Yeah, so cool. Wow, I'd pay $1 million for one of those. The state of Halo, where it was, what it's become across the years. I think I was particularly inspired by this with the way Infinite's going. I find that really interesting because, like, Infinite they kind of fucked up the launch, but then they injected some new content in it where it's just like, this is a bit late, but it's welcome. You know, this is pretty good stuff. And then they do this shit where, like, they're not only selling colors for your armor for, like, fucking $8. Like, I made fun of it in one of my RB and the Chief things. It's just like, and it's not even just it's like different shades of the same color being sold separately. Like it's lipstick. It's like there's like a dark shade of red and a slightly darker shade of red, and they're both like individually priced. And it's like, dude, fuck off. For a color? And now they got this new thing where you get the Mark V armor from Halo Combat Evolved, and they're selling it for $20. Like, I'm not totally against cosmetic purchases, but it's just like $20 for a fucking armor. Like, that's a third of the game price for like a single armor set. But then they would say like, oh, it's an armor kit. You can do more things with it. It's not just the skin. It's got like fucking decals and whatever other stupid bullshit. And it's like, come on, dude. Like, I mean, the argument against that, or for it rather, is just like, people are gonna buy what they want to buy. If that's what they want, then they have the option to buy it. You don't have to get it. And it's like, yeah, but if people keep buying that kind of shit for that price, everything is just going to turn into like the sort of GTA 5 model where the same version of the same game just sticks around for fucking ever. And then they just work off microtransactions for years and years and years instead of developing a new game, you know? Because why would they? Because they're raking in all this money perpetually after following the release of like the Infinite or whatever, you know? And it's just like, let's see some new shit. And like, don't charge that much for a skin either. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean, some people are quite happy to do it, and I find that irritating, to be honest. You know? It's just like, Hayabusa. Oh, I would pay $40 for that. Am I right, guys? Oh, wow, what a dope armor set. You guys remember that from Halo 3? You remember the old armors? Yeah, so cool. Wow, I'd pay $1 million for one of those. It's like, cool, I guess. But like, you keep feeding them with that kind of cash for that small of a thing that you're getting, they're just gonna keep dishing that out over and over. You know? Like, come on, like, put out a new fucking... Tell a cool Halo story. But I feel like... I mean, they say that they're developing new shit. And it's like... Are you, though? Really? I don't know. It's like what was it Joseph Staten said? We're telling new and exciting stories and making more of what made Halo great. And it's just like, are you though? Or are you just making more Infinite bullshit? Because that's like, I feel like that's the model now. It's just like Halo Infinite's out now, and it's got this sort of what's the term, modular design to it, where you can just plug in one DLC thing after another, and then that's the form that new Halo games will take. Basically, it's just everything is just infinite DLC instead of just making a new Halo game. I don't want everything to be like GTA 5, you know what I mean? Where it's just like endless fucking DLC for a thing. I mean, I still like Halo, but I mean, it's not what it used to be for me. Halo 1 was fucking fantastic. I mean, I thought it was. That's what made me get an Xbox. Is I heard such positive reviews and I saw clips of people playing it and it just played really smoothly. You know? And I saw like the vehicle, like the fact that you could drive vehicles and they were so fun to control, and you could have people jump into the side seat or the turret and you could drive them around, whether it was multiplayer or you could do the campaign split screen co-op and they could get in the turret while you drive around, or vice versa. Like, that shit was fucking cool, man. And it was just so polished. Like, it didn't feel janky at all. You know? And so I got an Xbox for that game and I loved it. Not only that stuff that I described, but just it was just a cool sci-fi story. So, like, it felt like a very straightforward sort of B-movie sci-fi. A sci-fi B-movie. And I don't mean B-movie as if it's like lesser or like crappy. It's like, I love B-movies. But I felt like it had that sort of pulpy, almost campy quality to it, where it doesn't take itself too seriously. But there were parts, obviously, where it is quite spooky and dark, like when you first discover the flood and where you have to, like, you find mutated keys and you gotta, like, basically punch a hole in his head to, like, pull a thing out of his brain that you need to, like, work a thing on the Pillar of Autumn. I think that's the thing that activates the self-destruct or something, I think. It was really cool. It was just a cool story, played really well, cool co-op features, and an amazing multiplayer mode. And you could actually take it online if you knew what you were doing, because you could do, like, a system link thing. It was an Xbox Live, because that didn't come out until Halo 2. But Halo 1, you were able to get software on your PC that basically tricked your console into thinking it was on a LAN when it was actually on a WAN, or a wide area network, right? So you could connect with other Xboxes using the same software, right? And it was like a maximum of 4 Xboxes, I think. I actually can't remember. Like, I wonder if it's a cap of 4 Xboxes, or whether you could have had like one Xbox with 4 players, for example, split screen, and then like another Xbox with just 1 player on it, and then like another Xbox with 2 players, and then they could all join together. I think it was capped at 4 Xboxes. And in order to get 16 players, you needed to have a full 4 people on each box. And that was really, when you could get that going, it felt really special, because like the technology wasn't there to sort of make that a normal thing yet. Not until Xbox Live and Halo 2 came out. And then Halo 2 came out. And that was hype as fuck. I remember how hyped I was for Halo 2. And then when it came out, it didn't disappoint. It was just like, man, I saw this meme today where it was just like, like half the screen was just like somebody going through the Halo 2 menu. Just like the music and everything and the way the whole menu was put together. And then it sort of splices that with an image of like Homelander from The Boys, where he was just like, just perfection, down to the last detail. And it's just like, yeah, man, that game was fucking awesome. and then that's when it had the. So Halo Combat Evolved came out, right? And then Xbox Live as a service was launched. And then Halo 2 took like a year or something to come out after that. And then it just took full advantage of Halo or Xbox Live. And I think that was kind of around the time where matchmaking started becoming a thing. And before then, it was always like custom lobbies, even on console. I think Halo 2 might have normalized the idea of matchmaking, which is just like a thing now, you know? That's just like what you expect from every console multiplayer game. And PC multiplayer games as well. And the campaign, I mean, my only complaint about the campaign was that it ended abruptly because they ran out of time to develop the story that they wanted. But it ended on a pretty effective cliffhanger, I thought, at least. And there was enough there in the campaign that it felt worthwhile. And the Halo 1 and 2 and 3 felt really special. And Halo 2 is a little less, or Halo 3 is a little less special to me than Halo 2, but I know some people who have the opposite opinion where they think Halo 3 is the better game. And I guess in some ways it is, because Halo 3 is more feature rich, because you had like, that's when Forge and Theater mode came out, and you could like tweak your custom games to an unprecedented degree. And it had a cool map selection. I think I might have preferred Halo 2's actually overall, but Halo 3 had a cool little pool of maps. I didn't like Halo 3, the look of it. Everything looked a little too plasticky. Like all the avatars looked like action figures. It was kind of weird. But yeah, the Halo 3 was good. And then, I mean, it might have just been because I was at a certain age at that point too, where I was just graduating high school and sort of transitioning into the real world with, you know, trying to get a job and college and stuff. And I guess that might have been one of the reasons why Halo 2 was a little more special to me, because I was more... Gaming was more of like a ritual at that point, like a daily thing where I'd get home from school and just play, you know, go on Xbox Live and stuff. And then around the time Halo 3, it's just like I was feeling nervous because like the real world was coming at me soon. And then I had to deal with that. And I just sort of drifted away from video games a little bit at that point, I think. I mean, only a little bit, but like enough to make me think a little less of Halo 3 than I do of 2, but like Halo 3 was still great. Had a great campaign too, and I felt it like concluded things nicely. I mean, it had a kind of a cliffhanger ending, but it was very much more closed off. It was much more of a closed ending than Halo 2's was. And then after that, I just kind of stopped giving a shit. Although I was like mildly interested, but like I wasn't nearly as into it, Halo, as I used to be. But like I was still looking forward to 4. Cause I knew a bunch of people that had worked on the original games were like moving over to 343 Industries. Like, cause I think Halo 3, well, sorry, they made Halo Reach first. So Halo 3 came out and then Bungie made Reach, and that was sort of their last Halo game. Reach was great. It's probably my least favorite out of the 4 Halo games that Bungie did, but that's not to say that it's bad. I actually really like it. I just had more fun with the other ones. But and then after Reach, I think Bungie, then that's when their contract with Microsoft ended, and then they went over with Activision to do Destiny, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm getting that wrong. I think that was what happened. And then, so like they had Bungie going off doing that, and then 343 was created to manage the Halo property going forward. And then they put out Halo 4, which did some cool things, but overall just it didn't feel special to me anymore. And I'm not sure if it was just the way it played or just because I was at that age where I was distracted by other shit at that point. Um, but I don't think Halo 4's multiplayer is held in high regard. Maybe I'm misremembering it, but I remember playing a bit of it and I was just like, this is okay, but like this doesn't have the hype of like first playing Halo 2 online for me. But yeah, like I said, I don't know if that's like age or just taking for granted the fact that you could just so easily go online and play with a full 16 player, you know, like a full match. Because back in the day, especially Halo 1, if you managed to get that going, that was such an event. Even though it was laggy as fuck, it was just like, oh my god, I can't believe we're doing this. Like 16 players online. It made it so gripping. Um, but then that became like people take things for granted pretty quickly, you know? And then all of a sudden it's just like, yeah, 16 players, whatever, who cares? I'm playing online. Yeah, done this before, whatever. Uh, so yeah, it might just be me getting older that's factoring into my lack of interest there. And then uh I liked some of the campaign of Halo 4. I really liked the idea of Cortana going rampant and sort of going insane. Because Cortana has always been the thing that sort of grounds Chief, keeps him sort of. Well, there's an interesting thing going on there where she's kind of fake in a way. She's a computer. But she's also the thing that's keeping Master Chief human and not just. She's kind of helping him not totally be just this mindless killing machine. And that she has a sense of humor. She's like built with that in her system. And Chief also has a bit of wit, even though he's very like straight faced most of the time. He does have a certain wit about him, and he'll exchange light little jokes with Cortana sometimes. And I really appreciate that dynamic that they have. They're almost like a married couple, the way they would briefly bicker sometimes. There's a part in the third game, I think, where, or maybe it's the second game actually, Halo 2, where like Sergeant Johnson drops off a tank for you to use on, I think it's the new Mombasa level where you first go to Earth. And it's like, it's in one sense it's cool because it's like, oh, this is the tank part, you know, you get to blow the shit out of everything. But then like Cortana has a line where it's just like, thanks for the tank, he doesn't get me anything. He being Master Chief. It's just such like a married couple gag. I really liked that kind of little beats of writing like that, where you really like these characters, you know, and the dynamic that they have together. Um, and then and like to see Cortana going rampant in the fourth one, that was really a tragic thing, but not in a bad way. It felt like, okay, this is like we're doing a new Halo trilogy now, and this is like a radical sort of change, but it feels appropriate. I like this idea of Cortana degrading, and then Chief has to deal with the fact that she's not there anymore. That's like this feels like a cool laying interesting groundwork for a new trilogy of games, right? And and there's like an emotional angle to it, right? Where like you want to put. I mean, Chief is supposed to be like this stoic sort of nothing affects me sort of character, but you do want to put him in situations where he might be like on uneven ground or on edge, or like has pressure, a unique pressure put on him that makes him sort of behave differently. That's interesting to see. So I kind of liked what Halo 4 was setting up, even though it tripped in a few places. Like the multiplayer was one. It just didn't really interest me for some reason. I don't think it was as well polished as the multiplayer in other modes too. And I think, did they still have Forge in the fourth one? I can't remember. It just didn't feel as special anymore. But I mean, I don't know if that's entirely the game's fault. But I do remember Master Chief's armor being really over-designed all of a sudden. I didn't like the new look. I was okay, like, between Halo 1, 2, and 3, there were, like, design changes to, like, Master Chief's suit, which I thought were okay, but, like, when it got to 4, it had, like, there's too many, like, bells and whistles on it. It felt too busy. And that the helmet, in particular, looked much different. And it is almost like it wasn't Chief anymore. I'm just like, who's that? Who's that guy? You have to sort of squint and be like, oh, okay, Master Chief. Right, got it. But yeah, like Halo 4, whatever. I kind of enjoyed. Is it Halo 4 when they introduced the Didact? He was like the new big bad. And he's just like this fucking shredded ass alien who, like, he can float around and stuff. He's basically like that, the alien in the Scientology episode of South Park. I am the Didact. It felt kind of corny. It felt like a step down in terms of, like, villainy. Especially because, like, the villainy in the previous games was much more complicated. You didn't have just, like, this one kind of central bad guy. I mean, I guess sort of with, like, Tartarus, the Brute. And then you had, like, the Prophet of Truth, who's just, like, leading everybody down this road of essentially suicide. But there was some interesting shit going on there, because they were all gripped by this poisonous ideology. Because they thought, like, oh, the utopia is waiting for us. You know, we just have to... The idea was, like, ultimately releasing the flood, but that would lead to this new world. I can't remember the exact way they put it, the prophets, but it's just like, it's something about a path, opening the path to enlightenment or something like that. I don't know. They had like the way forward. I can't remember what it was. There's like a specific phrase associated with it. Road to Salvation. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, The Great Journey. That was it. Right. Thank you. Bridges are useless. The Great Journey, right. So that was really the ultimate enemy, was that idea of going on the Great Journey and purifying existence for all life forms. But in actuality, it was unleashing this terrible plague. And so it was a fight against the ideology. Like, the prophets weren't really... In a way, they were trying to, like, save everything because they were so delusional. But they were trying to save their own race. And also, like, all life forms in the universe. They were just wrong about their approach. But then all of a sudden with Halo 4, it was just like, I'm this big, bad, shredded alien dude. Oh, I'm going to kick your ass, Master Chief. And it just felt like a step down. Maybe I'm not being fair enough to it because I don't remember it very well. But I just remember getting that vibe from it where it's just like, this kind of sucks in comparison. If the other games felt more mature. I mean, the High Charity cutscene in Halo 2 is still one of my favorite fucking things I've ever seen. Like, movies, games, whatever. Just like Chief landing on that High Charity platform, like the Covenant base in space, and then he finds that one prophet he's being strangled by a flood form. And he's like, he's not even fighting it. He's just like letting it kill him. And it's such a great metaphor for letting an ideology slowly strangle you. You know, where you're looking at the horrific face of it, but you're still so delusional that you're willing to accept this as like, this is the right thing. I'm glad this is happening. Yes, please choke me. Like, that level of delusion I thought was really interesting. And then Chief is just sort of bitterly sort of looking down at him, and he just lets it strangle him at first. Your pal, where's he going, right? And because he has to chase the Prophet of Truth. Like, Prophet getting strangled is one of the other ones. But it's such a fucking badass cutscene. And then it ends with like Cortana or Chief having to leave Cortana behind so she can detonate the ship as a failsafe if she needs to. And you can tell simply by the way it's shot that Chief is heartbroken that he has to leave Cortana behind. But of course, he's not the type to ever show that he's like ever in pain or emotional distress. But you can just tell like he doesn't want to leave her behind. And Cortana's saying it's okay. You have to do this. It's such a great little moment that they have. Like I never saw anything of that kind of emotional profundity in any of the other games. I mean, maybe I guess at the end of Halo 4, Chief and Cortana do have a nice like last conversation, but it felt a little bit forced. I don't know if I'm being fair enough to it. It just didn't feel as special as like Halo 2 or 3 to me. And so like Halo 4, yeah, that was... I remember beating the campaign and being like, that was okay. I wasn't that disappointed, but like it just felt... I remember thinking like, this isn't like the old games. The old games, like... I feel like Halo 4 is on the decline now. And then something else is gonna take it over. I mean, Call of Duty, right? Halo 2 was at the top of the pile for Xbox Live, and then fucking Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare came out and just claimed the territory, you know? And they were like kind of side by side for a while, but eventually Call of Duty, I think, took that over. And Call of Duty 4 was great, don't get me wrong. And it's like, yeah, I mean, Halo inevitably wasn't gonna stay at the top. I mean, no game ever does. There's always a new game that comes along to like sort of claim that territory of that massive player base, like the mainstream, like the thing that everybody's playing, right? At one point that was Halo on consoles at least, and then it became Call of Duty, and it might still be Call of Duty, to be honest. I mean, I know PC has like Apex Legends and shit, but I think on consoles it's still Call of Duty Warzone is probably the thing. If not that, maybe like PUBG or Fortnite or something. Are those still popular? I'm not sure. I feel like Call of Duty Warzone is still like the dominant sort of force there. But then so Halo 5 came out, and there's like a new character, this bald Locke dude, and it's just like, who is this? Why can it just be about Chief? I mean, I wasn't totally against bringing a new character in. I guess you got to do something if Cortana's all of a sudden gone, but I wanted it to focus on just like Chief, like all of a sudden having nobody, or like having to deal with a new AI system as a guide. I did like the idea of Locke as this sort of legendary Spartan hunter. So there was some tension built there. And then they had this fight. Chief fights Locke. And they do this sort of movie thing where they set up this armor lock thing. Not like in the multiplayer mode, but like this thing, it's like a device they set up in an early cutscene where Locke kind of throws it on a guy who is in an armored suit, and it sort of locks their suit down so they can't move. And so you're thinking as an audience member like, oh, he's gonna fight Chief, and then the tension is gonna be, is he gonna be able to get this thing on Chief's armor and then lock him down, and then Chief can't do anything. And then it sort of builds up to this fight, and you're worried that he's going to do that, but then Chief evades it. I think he actually reverses, it like backfires. Chief puts it on him, and then Chief leaves. And I remember thinking, oh, that's cool, but like, it's like, okay, so that was just a big payoff for just that little fight, and the whole resolution of it is just like, oh, Chief wasn't locked down by the thing. Cool. And now it just felt like a small, like, it's like Chief's, moseying along along the plot, and then it's like he just trips over a rock and he's like, oh, that was kind of a nuisance, and then just keeps going. Like that. It felt like that was essentially what was happening plot wise, and it's just like, did we need that? Like, it should have been more, the threat to Chief should have been like a bit greater if you're going to do that sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my ass. I remember being underwhelmed by Halo 5, and it felt divorcing the story between two characters. I remember always thinking, like, what's Chief doing? You know? Like, I don't want to play as Locke. I want to play more of Chief, right? It's like, it just felt like a chore to get through the Locke stuff to get back to Chief to see what his side of the story was. I think a lot of people were feeling that. Like, that was a common sentiment. It's just like, we want to play Chief. Like, there's not enough Chief. And there just wasn't enough Chief missions, period. Even just on his side of it. And, I guess the multiplayer mode was a bit of an improvement. I mean, I guess it was actually pretty respected, too. I think people liked Halo 5's multiplayer overall. But at that point, I just didn't care anymore. I think I was just at an age. It just wasn't that special to me, and I wasn't really... Like, I lost a bunch of my skills. Like, when I played Halo 2 multiplayer, I used to make, like, headshot sniper montages and, like, no-scope montages and shit. Like, I was good. But then all those skills went away, and then I would just go on Halo Online and get my ass kicked. I'm just like, ugh. I don't care anymore. This sucks. I got other shit I need to be doing anyway, like studying for college or working on my show, because I think I was working for Machinima at that point. I was fucking busy when I started working for Machinima, like trying to come up with a video every week. That was stressful. So I didn't have a lot of time for just getting lost in a multiplayer mode of whatever game, you know. So, and then Halo Infinite comes out, and I was really underwhelmed. I thought the campaign of Halo Infinite started strong. I was actually quite impressed with the way it started out. But then the Halo Infinite campaign just sort of flatlined after that. And then it just got like a little frustrating and repetitive and annoying. And then it ends with no real conclusion or direction. Like, there's just no payoff. Like, he says, Chief, early in Infinite, he says, like, this ring is not like the others. And then at the end of the game, in the last cutscene, he says, this ring, it's not like the others again. It's like, I know, you said that. How about telling me why it's not like the others? What the fuck is so different about it? And it was just clear to me, like, oh, they don't even know. 343, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't know where to take it. They were just like, let's just build this open world game, and then we'll try and figure out a story along the way. You know? And it felt like the story in the earlier games took more of a priority. Because I remember the shift from Halo 1 to 2 was quite something. I mean, I liked the story in Halo 1, but then you got to Halo 2 where it started fleshing out the alien side of things, and they have their own political system and their own, like, hierarchy, and, like, you know, you had the prophets at the top, and then the brutes are sort of their enforcers, I guess. And then you have the, like, ranks of elites, and then the grunts. And, like, they have there's a political environment there that was interesting. And then you had this character of the Arbiter who was actually quite likable right from the get-go. And right away, you know, like, he's being lied to and he's being manipulated by the prophets. And then his journey is sort of realizing that the prophets are full of shit. And then he sort of meets Chief, and they have this rivalry, but then they realize they're really on the same team. And then they start working with each other. Like, that was really fucking cool. Like, for, like, an action video game, like, pretty sophisticated storytelling, I think. And everything since then just has felt like a step down. I mean, Halo 3 was a nice conclusion. But yeah, everything from then just felt like a bit of a, like I said, Cortana's rampancy was cool, but then it was just, that was like a little peak in like a steady decline. And then Halo Infinite is just like, ugh, I don't care anymore. Like, I like the way it started, like I said, but it's just they didn't know where they were going, I think. They're just like, we know how to start this game off. We know we want to have this open world structure where you can fucking go. It's just like waypoints, 360 degrees, and you can go wherever you want. But it wasn't really that interesting. It got repetitive really fast because it's just like, oh, here's a chunk of enemies, kill all of them. Oh, here's a chunk of enemies, kill all of them. Oh, there's a tower. Go in there, press the button, come back out. Oh, there's 3 waypoints. There's 3 buttons now. I got to press the 3 buttons and then go to the main tower where the main button is and press that button to like, it's just very like, ugh. Everything felt like a chore. It felt like there was no, it didn't feel like there was any narrative pull to it. They had this girl alien. I mean, she was kind of interesting in the cutscenes, but then you fight her and it's just annoying. She's just one of those bosses that teleports around, and it's like, it was just an annoying boss fight, I remember. And it just felt anticlimactic. It's just straightforward. It's just like they introduced the girl alien, and then it's like the end of the game is just like, let's kill the girl alien. It's okay. Like, there's no, how about some twists and turns? Like, you mentioned the Endless, but you didn't even fucking introduce them. What's the Endless? At the end, like, the girl alien is just like, you have unleashed the Endless. And it's like, what is the Endless? You haven't even said it yet. I don't know why this ring is different. I don't know what the Endless is. And the Endless was obviously just 343 going like, oh, well, we need something like the Flood that's like really dangerous and plague-like. But it needs to be scarier than the Flood somehow, even though, how do you make something scarier than the Flood? That's sort of like the pinnacle of that idea, where it's like you have this gross parasite that just takes over everything. So, like, where do you go from there? Like, I'd rather they just brought the Flood back again. Instead of mentioning this Endless thing where they haven't even established what it is. Like, I was intrigued by it when it was first mentioned. Because it's like, oh, what's this? Worse than the Flood? Really? Oh, okay. Scarier, you say? And then it gets to the end of the game and they still don't introduce it. And it's like, oh, you guys don't know what you're doing, do you? This is all just... It's just about keeping Halo on life support at this point, and just pulling whatever out of your ass to make your world design work. Which, I mean, to be fair, I liked the open world design, kind of. I mean, it got repetitive, but I loved the grappling hook. I love going around shooting the hook and swinging, like that whole idea of like, because they already did like they did the jetpack in Reach, right? And obviously the grappling hook is a step down from the jetpack in terms of like being able to get around quickly to high places, but a grappling hook is more fun to use because there's that whole fulcrum based gameplay. It's kind of like playing Spider-Man, right? Where you're like swinging on like a pendulum and you're sort of timing your jumps so you can maximize your momentum and like forward velocity. And then you take the next shot and swing on a separate thing, like that. That was a fun gameplay mechanic, and that was a smart idea, and it worked really well with the open world design and the sort of all this mountainous terrain that's along this Halo ring. It makes sense to have a thing like that where you can easily navigate mountainous terrain. So like I like that, but yeah, the campaign just got dull. By the end, I was just like, ugh, when is this going to end? This kind of sucks now. But the multiplayer was okay. But, I mean, it didn't have Forge. It didn't have co-op. It didn't have that many maps, I don't think. And then there's the whole free to play thing, right? Which is like, it pisses me off ultimately. But then it's like, why, John? It's a free game. LOL. Why are you complaining about a free game? You don't like free stuff? And it was clear to me from the beginning. I said this on Twitter earlier today. It was clear to me from the beginning that all that was just basically a platform for normalizing microtransactions, right? Because if you make the game free, then you have to monetize it somehow, right? So then you introduce all these cosmetic purchases, right? And then you get an enormous amount, because it's free, you soak in the maximum amount of players because there's no paywall. So you get them playing, and then you introduce all these microtransactions and cosmetics, saying, hey, look at this armor. Remember this? Remember this thing? This is key jangling, basically. Remember this from the older games? Or look at this samurai armor. Isn't that cool? Look at this thing. Wow. And it's just like, oh, I like that. And then, you know, they buy that, and they buy another thing, and they buy another thing. And before you know it, a single person has spent more on cosmetics than they would have for just the game if it was regularly priced. You know what I mean? And that just, and then over say like a decade, you normalize that practice of dishing out microtransactions to players. And then I think 10 years down the line, you'll have developers releasing games for full price and putting in those egregious microtransactions where they're selling a fucking armor coating for $20. You know? It's just conditioning. I remember talking about this on Every Frame of Pause with those guys. It reminded me of that scene in Chicken Run where all the chickens are just getting fattened up. You know? And that one girl chicken is just running around going like, don't you see what they're doing? They're fattening you up. You know? They're conditioning you to be okay with this kind of shit. So years down the line, nobody's going to complain. Right? It's all just a money-making thing. And it's just, this stuff gets in the way to a point where we have to wait X more amount of years before an actual new Halo game comes out, you know? Instead of just them getting right onto the next game, it's just like, how can we milk Infinite for the next X amount of years with all these like little cosmetic purchases, things people recognize from the older games, and we're going to make bank on it because of, you know, nostalgia, right? I don't like that. Am I crazy? What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm full of shit? Do you think it's good that it's a free-to-play thing and, oh, just leave people alone. They want to buy a fucking stupid suit or a coat for their gun. Just let them do it. It's their money. They can spend it however they want. You know? I mean, there's something to be said for that, but, like, this shit just gets in the way of new mainline releases, I think. Just make a new fucking Halo game and tell a story, for Christ's sake, that's interesting. Think about the lore. Get a good writer. Get an experienced sci-fi writer on the team to like actually make something interesting. Put Master Chief on an emotional journey that puts him through the ringer, you know? I want a Halo game that's fucking scary and puts Chief through the ringer emotionally. I don't know how. Maybe something with Cortana, maybe a new AI that comes in. I mean, they have a new Cortana now, don't they? I can't remember what they did with her exactly in Infinite. It is Cortana, but it isn't. There's something going on there that I can't remember what the thing is. It's like a copy of Cortana, but she's just forgotten everything. She's like the real Cortana, but she's just has amnesia or something. I don't know. I remember there was a Twitter thread I posted on a while ago. It's just like, name one thing that the Halo franchise is really missing that you wish wouldn't be so neglected. And I said horror. Horror, absolutely. Like the first Halo game had creepy parts in it. The discovery of the Flood was a great beat in that story, where it's just you realize you're in this figurative viper's nest, and you're just like, oh shit, what have we done? Fuck. And then you fight your way out because you're chief and you can fucking blast through hordes of Flood. I mean, as repetitive as that level was, it was pretty... What was happening in terms of story was actually pretty cool. Just fighting your way through waves and waves of Flood, trying to get yourself back to the top, the surface of the ring. And then it's like, let's fucking deal with this. Let's put a cap on this before it's too late. And then that's when 343 Guilty Spark abruptly comes in. It's just like, I have the solution. And Chief is just like, okay. And there was a little bit of like camp there, like silliness, but it worked. Where 343 Guilty Spark, he's just sort of this mumbling, sort of weirdly polite robot. And then when Cortana is just like, well, Guilty Spark tries to get like Chief to put the index in the big thing, the machine, whatever it is. And Cortana's like, hey, stop doing the thing. Do you have any idea what that psycho almost made you do? And then that's when it comes out that 343 was trying to get Chief to activate the ring so the Flood would be released everywhere. And the Monitor is just like, oh, I thought you knew. Sorry. There's little beats where Chief is like vulnerable and unsure of what to do. That I really appreciate it. There's a cutscene in Halo 1 where Cortana is like, she's telling Chief what he needs to do. I think it might have been just before Assault on the Control Room or something, one of those levels. Where it's just like, do this, do that, stop the Monitor. And Chief's animation, he's sort of like running to like do the thing, but he's also like looking back at Cortana, like soaking in everything that she's saying. And he just looks kind of bewildered, and he's just like, okay, yeah, right. And then he just runs off. That's such a great cutscene. There's just a little in the way Chief is animated there. Like that's a little moment where he wasn't exactly sure what to do, and he really needed Cortana's help there, you know? And I don't see little beats like that anymore. You know? It's the end of Assault on the Control Room. Yeah, okay. Fuck, that was a good game. Just a solid ass campaign. And then it had this great climax at the Pillar of Autumn crash site where it's like a big bomb basically to Chief, and he's trying to blow it up. And then like there's a cutscene where Cortana's just like, oh, we need to start a chain reaction. We need some kind of explosive. And she looks around at Chief, and Chief's just like tossing a grenade in his hand. And then it's like, that's great. And then I think there's the Halo 1 campaign had this sort of chapter structure where like text would fade in. And it would be like the title of the chapter that you're playing. Like it would go letterbox, and then you would see like the text for the chapter. And I think at that moment in the campaign, the text is, and the horse you rode in on, which is so fucking cool, right? Because the full quote is fuck you and the horse you rode in on. So it's like the key term there that's unsaid is fuck you, right? Because that's what's going through Chief's head in regard to 343, who's kind of like the main enemy at this point, because he's led you down this path of almost killing everything. And now it's just like, dude, you tried to trick me. Fuck you, dude. I'm gonna blow the fuck out of you. I'm gonna blow the fuck out of this whole stupid ring. Just like, it's one of those moments where the player and the character you're playing as, their motivations are in direct alignment, where it's just like, yeah, fuck that guy. I'm going to blow the shit out of this place. And it's just so energizing and like compelling to play when you achieve that kind of synchronicity. And then you have that moment where you get in the Warthog and you're racing to get to your pickup point, and then Foehammer gets shot down. And then there's a moment where you're just sitting there idling in the Warthog going, what the fuck do we do now? And then Cortana chimes in. It's like, there's a Pelican in whatever bay down, but you can make it, but you have to go now. And then you just like book it down this exploding hallway. It's such a fucking cool ass last mission. And just the whole structure of the campaign overall. I mean, like, there were parts where this plot was kind of duct taped together, which is exactly how I think Joe Staten described it. He was the story duct tape guy. And he would just find ways to sort of bridge gaps between levels to make it sort of make sense narratively. But yeah, I think if the later games had special things like that, I would recognize them and appreciate them. But like, I don't think, certainly not Infinite. Infinite didn't have. I don't think I finished the campaign for Halo 5 because I got bored. I'm sick of not playing as Chief, and these enemies are boring because they're not aliens anymore. They're just like these light-based sort of robots that they just kind of they weren't fun enemies to fight, I don't think. It was like a step down in terms of like player engagement. But I did finish Halo Infinite, but I was only just barely intrigued, and then just to discover at the end that they weren't going to answer any of the questions that they set up. And it's just like, oh, fuck off. I gotta wait for the next Halo now, which is going to come out, what, never? Because you're just going to keep making DLC for Infinite for fucking ever? And not even campaign DLC, but just multiplayer DLC. Like, answer the campaign stuff. I want to know what the fuck happens. What's the endless? Why is this ring different? Why are we doing this? Is there a narrative purpose to this, or is this really just about keeping Halo on life support now because the franchise is too much of a moneymaker, you know? Where Microsoft is just like, we don't care what you do, just make another Halo game. Do it now. Because we want money. And it feels like that's basically it. So now we have Infinite now, right? With this half-assed campaign, in my opinion. Some people like it, it's fine. But I thought it started off good, like I said, but it's just really underwhelming, and it didn't answer the questions it set up. It wasn't nearly as satisfying as the initial games. Certainly not Halo 1. I love the Halo 1 campaign, and Halo Infinite was just like a wet fart in comparison. And I mean, I don't mind Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Like, they did introduce, like, for as late as it was introduced, they did bring in, what was it? Co-op and Forge. And they were welcome additions, but at that point, a lot of people were just like, oh, whatever. Like, you missed the window. You know what I mean? You should have struck while the iron was hot, just delayed the game. Taken the time you need to, like, integrate those features into the launch. But instead, you fucking launched it half-assed. And then it's like, we have these cool features now. And it's just like, well, I don't really care now. Because I've already played through the campaign. I'm not particularly inclined to go through it again in co-op. I mean, it was already boring. So, I mean, I might get some, I haven't tried it yet, but I might get some mild enjoyment for a little while out of playing it in co-op with somebody. But, like, eventually I just be like, whatever, I know what happens. It's just about pressing a bunch of buttons. I don't give a fuck. And so, yeah, we have, I mean, the Forge mode is really cool in Halo Infinite. I actually felt bad after it came out because I was quite harsh on Infinite when I made Master Chief Sucks at Halo Infinite. I had Arbiter go pretty hard on it for being underwhelming. And then the Forge mode came out. I was just like, you know what? This is actually pretty fucking good. Like, all the shit you can do in Forge, the shit you can build, the shit that I've seen other people build. I mean, I've seen maps built with Infinite's Forge that don't even look like Halo maps. I think that's a good thing too. I mean, you could make maps that look like Halo, obviously, if you want. But I've seen people make maps that just look like somebody's house, or like I've seen like an oversized toy. It's almost like Toy Story, where you're just playing in this giant kid's bedroom, and it's like as if all the players are little action figures. Like, that's really cool. Like, you can do all this cool shit in Forge, and it's like all you need to do is just download the map data, and then you can go right into whatever custom thing somebody made. And then there's this whole integration of logic scripts where you can write, I don't know what programming language it is. Maybe it's like a proprietary language that's unique, or maybe it's something like, maybe it's like Python or something, just like a relatively simple programming language that's probably integrated into the Forge mode. But like, you can write all these scripts for dynamic things to happen in the levels, you know? You remember like the kind of shit where like I remember Halo 2 had a DLC map called Transit. I can't remember if that's what it was called, but it had like a bullet train that would come through really fast periodically, and it was basically like an instant kill. If you were in the way of the train, it would kill you. You could script shit like that into your levels, and you can even have AI. So you can have player versus, would it be PvE? Like if you're playing like a sort of arena style, like waves of computer enemies sort of thing, that would be a PvE situation, right? Player versus environment. Or is environment the wrong term to use there? I'm not sure, but it's just like human players cooperating to kill computer enemies. Like, you can put enemy AI, you can put basically as many enemies as you want, whatever the budget will allow, and the budget is surprisingly high. So you can have Terminal. Oh, okay, yeah. It wasn't Transit, it was Terminal. That was the map. That was a great map. And I love that sort of element where if you're in the way of this train, it could kill you if you're not careful. So yeah, you could build shit like that in Forge now. Basically whatever you want. I mean, the opportunity, the sky's the limit, really. It's just your imagination is the only bottleneck at this point. Because you have all this memory to work with. You have an enormous budget. You can construct any kind of geometry that you want. And you can put whatever custom textures you want on it, too. Like, I played a map in Halo Infinite. It was just like Walmart. Like the shopping mall. It's just like a Walmart. You can like run around the parking lot and you look at the big Walmart sign and you can go in and it's just like shelves, and that's so stupid. But like this, I'm like, this is great. Like this, and they also introduced like custom lobbies. So you can sort of browse and look through all these stupid maps that people are playing on. It's like, oh, hey, 15, 16 player deathmatch in Walmart. I'm down. Let's do it. And the Forge mode was very cool. And after that came out, I kind of felt bad about how hard I went on Infinite. Although I think they do deserve criticism for their half-assed launch. They did inject a bunch of content into Infinite, at least in terms of multiplayer, that was like, this is pretty good. Like, good job. I just wish the campaign wasn't so lame. I would like there to be more story content and not just like rushed bullshit. Like, do something really good and narratively interesting, you know? Put Chief through the ringer. Give him an emotional dilemma. Make him have to do something that's scary, you know? I want to feel spooked in a Halo game. I want there to be some psychological element, you know? Like, do like a campaign where Chief's maybe losing his mind or something. He's like hallucinating or something. I think that might be cool. Something that's like character driven. I mean, don't lose sight of the fun gameplay and all that, obviously, but like just... I like the Master Chief character, and he's not just a drone like Doom guy. There's like there's an element of personality to him, and you got to create a story that sort of plays around with that. But I mean, I heard there's a rumor that there's a new Halo in development, but at that point, that's all it is. It's just rumors. Rumors, and then Joe Staten and whoever saying, we're still making a new Halo thing, whatever form that takes. And that's all we've got to go on right now. And yeah, and now Halo's obviously not really at the top of the pile anymore. Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about Master Chief Collection and all that. I mean, Master Chief Collection I thought was a pretty good idea. I had quite a bit of fun with Master Chief Collection recently. Because I was just playing, like, I don't play all the Halos in the Master Chief Collection. Like, I would basically just install the multiplayer modes for Halo 1 and 2 and 3. And then just launch matchmaking, and it would select out of just like those installed games, because I don't really care about 4 or 5 or... Well, Infinite's not a part of it, but... Yeah, just Halo 1, 2, and 3. And there's just such a blast from the past, you know? Just full 16-player games, no fucking around, no lag, really. I mean, all the matches played pretty well. It was just a really nice experience playing Halo 1 in particular. Just the multiplayer mode again on Master Chief Collection. I was impressed with it. Reach, I'm actually, I mean, you would think I would play a lot more of multiplayer Reach, but given that I always use it for my machinima stuff, but I don't know. There's something about the multiplayer I just don't find as compelling as... Maybe it's because I'm just so tired of playing Reach, given that I spend enough time in it making movies, that I'm just kind of fed up actually playing the multiplayer mode, which is a shame because I know it's good. It just doesn't have the pull for me that the other ones do. Halo 5 isn't on Master Chief Collection. Oh, okay, yeah, it stops at 4, doesn't it? I forgot. Yeah, I'm not interested in 4. I was never really... I mean, I didn't really give it that much of a shot, but I wasn't impressed in the few games that I played. It was okay. It just wasn't quite the same for me anyway. Armor lock. Oh yeah. Yeah, maybe the power-ups had something to do with it, like the armor abilities. I mean, they're cool because they make machinimas interesting. Because it's like different props and things you can do with the characters. But from a gameplay perspective, I just find them kind of in the way for some reason. Like, whenever I see someone with armor lock, she's like, oh, fuck off. God damn it. I thought I had this guy, and then he does that. And then I start getting pelted with bullets, and it's just like, you little fucker. Good job, I guess. I think I'm just fatigued by Halo Reach's maps and features because of the sheer amount of time I've spent making movies with Halo Reach, which isn't fair. But, you know, at least, I mean, I do really respect the game for what it's helped me do in terms of, like, filmmaking, so... That's actually one of my other topics, is my machinima methods. Why I favor Reach over the other Halo games, and other games broadly. But we'll do that another episode. That's another big topic. Oh, you were... When Dally Magnus wrote that super chat, I think he was talking about, like, the remastered cutscenes that were done by Blur, which obviously are fantastic. I mean, like I was saying, one of my favorite things I've seen in anything is the cutscene where Chief is on High Charity and he sees one of the prophets getting strangled by the flood form. And it's just like, to see that remastered by Blur Studios, I think is the company. Like, that was just, like, magnificently done. It's like, it's so much more cinematic. Just really, real professional job that they did. Oh yeah, and the remasters, like the anniversary editions, where you could switch between the graphics. That was interesting. But it's a shame because I would rather just play with the older graphics the whole way through. Because I felt like something didn't aesthetically match up with what the original game was doing. I don't know. It wasn't that bad. But like, I prefer the look and the color palette of everything, like the way it was originally done. Like Halo Combat Evolved, I'm talking about. Like, comparing the Anniversary Edition to the original edition, I prefer the lower polys, the texturing, the colors in the original. I don't think the remaster is terrible, but it's just... to me, I mean, obviously it's higher fidelity, but it doesn't feel like a step up overall. But yeah, anyway, I don't really have much else to say on Halo. I hope you guys enjoyed my little overview of what Halo used to be and what it is now, and kind of the state of Infinite, and like my thoughts on the free-to-play model. And I hope you guys leave comments in the chat. You know, tell me what you think. You think I'm wrong? You think I'm full of shit? Because I know I probably got some shit wrong. I'm probably not being fair in a number of areas. I'm trying my best. I mean, I've played all the games to some degree. Yeah, it's just disappointing, and I want the best for Halo, you know, because I like the game, I like the gameplay, I like the character, I like the world, I like the horror elements that I wish wouldn't be neglected anymore. It's just a cool sci-fi story. And I want to see more, and I want to see it done well. I don't want the story neglected in favor of fucking multiplayer, because everything is trying to be like fucking Fortnite now, you know? With like Battle Royale and cosmetics and transactions and, you know, movement. Everything's a movement FPS now, where everybody's fucking sliding around like some super soldier, like in Crisis or something. Everything's like twitchy and, you know, twitchy shooting bullshit. So I feel like all multiplayer games are just kind of devolving into that same kind of sludge. I'm not being entirely fair to it. I mean, some of them are fun, but like, it doesn't feel the same anymore. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm getting older or because there actually has been a decline in quality. I definitely think there is some of the latter, but I don't know how much of it is just me kind of not being a kid anymore and just not being able to see it with the same kind of sparkle, you know? But you can let me know in the comments, because I read them. Anyway, that's my bit on Halo. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I at least kept you occupied while you do something more interesting, like jerking off. Oh yeah, what a great podcast.